last podcast on the left was the very first podcast I ever listened to. I don't really like podcasts, the idea of them, but the last podcast on the left brought humor to horror. It was composed of Henry Zabrowski, who's still one of my favorite comedians. You might know him from, what's the devil fucking Adult Swim movie show? The one where, like, hell is like The Office.
Oh, Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell.
Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell. Exactly. So he was in Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, along with Wolf of Wall Street. He brings comedy and a little bit of knowledge, just from being a fan of serial killers. There's Marcus Parks, who brings nothing but research and facts. You know, he's charming and witty, of course, but his main job is to bring the facts. And then there is Ben Kissel, who is the subject of today's stream that I am just slamming upon you guys right now. Now, who I have with me is Rui Valentine, one of my good buddies. I have Silver Fangia, another one of my good buddies, who's also been in a couple of my other streams and YouTube videos. And then there's my editor-in-chief, the man of the hour, or, I mean, not this hour, but Schmalias.
Glad to be here.
So, we are here to basically talk about abuse. And I want to talk about Ben Kissel and what happened to Ben Kissel. So, we have a Rolling Stones article that I'm going to read through. This is Ben Kissel right here.
And that's the comedian. Yes.
That is the comedian, Ben Kissel. 6'7". And then
that's really tall.
And then we're gonna watch the actual video of her talking about the abuse and what happened with her. So yeah. I think we should start with the video.
I do think we should be sure that by the looks of this article, we should say this is all alleged. We don't know if any of this is actually true. We're just finding out what evidence is presented in front of us now.
Good disclaimer.
Nah, he did it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's only you getting sued. If anything happens, Rui, good to know.
All right.
Hey, one of us has to get sued.
When Sarah Biddy Casa first met Ben Kissel in 2010, she was smitten with him almost immediately. Tall, handsome, with boyish features, at 6'7" frame, and an aw-shucks Midwestern Maine. Kissel was working as a stand-up comic in New York City, just like she was at the time. They both spent a lot of time at the Creek in the Cave, a now defunct comedy club in Queens. When the podcast first came out, it was in the Creek at the Cave, and it was all recorded there. She found him charming and funny, with quick wit and a willingness to say anything to get a laugh. An edgelord sensibility that was trendy on the comedy scene at the time. Comedians love to take the piss out of each other by trying to go farther and farther, she says. And when somebody who really could do that, and he was somebody who really could do that. So Benny Casa, is that how you say your name?
Benny Casa? Yeah, sure.
Benny and Casa? That's a fucking mouthful. Benny and Casa and Kissel started dating in late 2011, though she says they were seeing other people throughout, and Kissel did not want to be monogamous. We were in what will be characterized now as a situationship, she says. It was
situationship?
Yeah, you never heard of a situationship?
No.
You're in a relationship based on the situation.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays I just fuck around, so.
And did you find out?
Yes.
So.
Casa. Ben in Casa.
Ben in Casa. I don't know. It was, she says, understood that they were both seeing other people. So when Kissel asked her one rainy night that winter if she had slept with anybody else, she answered honestly in the affirmative, naming someone who was also on the New York City comedy scene. She was shocked, she says, when Kissel, whom she alleged had been drinking heavy throughout the night, became irate. As Kissel got angrier and angrier and drunker, Benny Casa says she tried to figure out what to do. She tried calming him down, ushering him to go to bed, but he was still furious, she says. I said, "Those are the rules you set. I don't understand why you're so mad," she says. And he said, "Well, never do that again." That's when Benny Casa alleged that Kissel slapped her across the face. It's weird that I don't remember it hurting, because I think it must have hurt. But I don't.
Nah.
But I remember freezing and inside my head thinking that just happened and it could get worse. You need to get out of here. Bruh. Benny Casa tried to get out of bed, she says, but Kissel pulled me back and firmly said, "No, stay here." She tried to get up and she alleges he pulled her back down. I said, "You hit me," she says, and he said, "No, I didn't," and passed out. She recalls feeling trapped by the weight of his frame. Kissel denies ever slapping Benny Casa. So she made a decision. She was going to stay as still as possible and wait it out until morning. I tried not to take deep belly breaths because I didn't want him to feel the movement with his arm, because it seemed like the thing that triggered him to wake up was me moving. I remember watching the darkness turn to that sort of bright light of New York morning after the rain. The next morning, Benny Casa said she tried to... All right, I'm just going to call her Benny. The next morning, Benny said she tried to broach the subject with Kissel again. I said, "You hit me last night." He said, "No, I didn't." I said, "Yes, you did. You slapped me across the face," she recalls. And he looked at me and kind of patted me on the head like a little kid. And he said, "Well, I'm very sorry if that happened, but it didn't. And we probably went and got food or something." Benny continued to casually date Kissel for a few months, breaking up in the spring of 2012, and they occasionally hooked up a few years afterwards. Throughout that time, she told herself a lot of stories about what happened. Well, I mean, it was one sort of issue, and I feel like they didn't break up because of that, you know?
Probably should have.
Throughout the time, she told herself a lot of stories about what had happened, that Kissel was drunk, and he truly may not have remembered allegedly hitting her. Allegedly, so this is still all allegedly. That it wouldn't happen again.
Nah, he slapped her.
She says it did not, and that the sole alleged...
If a court ain't said it yet, we're not allowed to say it.
Wait, she says it did not, and that was the sole alleged instance of him hitting her. She was also struggling with alcohol abuse at the time. I would pretend it didn't happen for quite some time, she says. If the feeling got so bad it started coming up and I couldn't ignore it, I would find a reason to go to a party, go out to drink. Benny told a few people in her circle about the incident, 2 close friends, a few months after she and Kissel stopped seeing each other, and the former member of the New York City comedy scene and a former member of the New York comedy scene in 2017. All 3 who confirmed details of the conversation conversations with her with Rolling Stone. Wait, what? 2 close friends confirmed these conversations. She also referred to it multiple times without naming Kissel, and once in 2014 for a Glamour interview, and once in a chapter of her 2016 book, Real Artists Have Day Jobs. It was trauma, she wrote in the chapter, and I do myself and my reader no service by pretending otherwise. For years afterwards, she says she had nightmares and flashbacks about that night, but she told herself that what happened with Kissel was an isolated incident. They remained cordial over the years, even friendly, occasionally emailing about various job opportunities. A person familiar with the situation says that Kissel and Benny continued to socialize as friends and colleagues after their breakup. I so desperately wanted to live in a world where it had been my fault and it was over and he never did it to anyone else, she says. That was a fairy tale I had told myself for a long time. For the past decade, Kissel had been known as a part of the enormously successful, I was a fan when they weren't so successful, true crime / comedy podcast, Last Podcast on the Left. Shut up. Co-hosted by Kissel, Henry Zabrowski, and Marcus Parks, it fused together raunchy humor, grisly recountings of stories like Ted Bundy case and the Jonestown Massacre, showcasing compelling, if dark, stories alongside the palpable chemistry of the trio, making listeners feel like they were having a weekly conversation with their closest friends. It struck a chord with fans. It was more than 1 billion listens. It has more than 1 billion listens? Damn! It has expanded to an entire network with 14
Oh
shows.
man, my dick feels so big because I listened to it before it blew up.
Fuck you. Under the LP.
That's exactly what you're feeling right now.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're saying, man.
Under the LPOTL umbrella, spawning numerous fan communities on Reddit, Facebook, tens of thousands of members on the podcast. Like tens of thousands of members on the podcast, Kissel played something of a lovable everyman role, seemingly coming to the stories with less information than his co-hosts, thereby serving as a stand-in for the listener. See, it's exactly what I said he does. Alongside the diehard fans of LPOTL, or Last Podcast on the Left, Kissel was considered something of an unlikely sex symbol. Though he was not necessarily the funniest or best informed of all the hosts, his teddy bear persona endeared him to listeners, particularly female fans. So many women were trying to get his attention and constantly DMing him, says Taylor Moon. As an adult content creator who had a long-distance relationship with Kissel from the spring of 2022 to July 2023, it's evident all over social media. If you scroll through Instagram, there are hundreds of girls' comments. In late 2023, shortly after Moon and Kissel broke up, Moon published a post on her Instagram alluding to the split, writing, you'll never get too drunkenly pin me to the bed and call me pathetic fucking loser or stupid fucking bitch ever again. Though she did not explicitly name Kissel, you'll never get to drunkenly pin me to the bed and call me a pathetic fucking loser or a stupid fucking bitch ever again.
Okay, no, I heard that part, but who said this?
This was Moon.
The one who got slapped.
No. Different bitch. This is the bitch who he was
Okay,
dating.
that's what I thought.
Yep, exactly. Though she did not explicitly name Kissel, Last Podcast on the Left fans, well versed in the art of solving mysteries, figured out who she was referring to, prompting tense speculation within the Last Podcast on the Left fan community. Moon later described her allegations in further detail in a September live stream of the Friends with Davey podcast, hosted by her friend comedian Davey Jackson. Since Moon went public, Rolling Stone has spoken to 3 other women, including Benny, who have come forward with other allegations against Kissel, ranging from inappropriate behavior to physical abuse. This is Kissel. Initially, Moon's allegations led to the Last Podcast on the Left team saying in September 13, in a September 13 episode, that Kissel would be going into treatment for his mental and physical health, assuring listeners that Kissel will be back. Weeks later, Last Podcast on the Left's reverse course, saying in an October 5th Instagram post that Kissel would be leaving the network. Many fans in the Last Podcast on the Left community were confused about face, wondering if the allegations against Kissel were true or if there were any others the network was not addressing. According to the 4 women who spoke with Rolling Stones, as well as 9 others close to the New York comedy community and the Last Podcast on the Left network, Kissel's issues with alcohol have long been a topic of discussion among those in his social circle, and may have played a role in his alleged misconduct. Kissel denies all allegations of physical abuse and inappropriate conduct against him, particularly those leveled by Moon. I had a long-distance relationship with Taylor over the course of about 15 months. We never lived together. Our connection was mostly consisted of text message and phone calls, followed by brief in-person visits, all of which were marred by frequent arguments instigated by Taylor, which is why I ultimately chose to end the relationship, he said in a statement sent to Rolling Stone. While the unhealthy nature of our relationship took a toll on my mental well-being, I want to make it clear that I have never been physically or verbally abusive with Taylor or any other woman in my life. Kissel's statement is reprinted in full at the end of the story. Though Kissel could also be, according to Benny, loving, cuddling, affectionate, and funny, that changed when he was drinking, according to 4 sources formerly associated with the Creek in the Cave, the comedy club where Last Podcast first got started. These individuals say that Kissel was well known for being aggressive and angry towards women, and occasionally violent when drunk. At one point in 2015, getting thrown out for hurtling a bottle, according to one person. A person familiar with the situation refutes this, saying Kissel was never expelled from the Creek in the Cave on any occasion. Wait a second. At one point forgetting 2015, forgetting Thunberg. But so somebody else refutes that. It was common for people at the club to be like, when Ben is drinking, stay away from him. Another source who requested to remain anonymous for fear of professional reprisal. Oh man, I bet it was like fucking Holden or Ed Larson or somebody. Rolling Stones has found that reports of Kissel's alleged drunken and combative behavior go back more than a decade, to the point of it being an open secret within the podcast and comedy communities. Mackenzie Joy Brennan, an attorney and former occasional contributor to Spun podcast on the Last Podcast Network, says he has been known for going on frequent benders, and she often saw him exhibiting very angry, very mean behavior on the turn of a dime, both toward herself and Kissel's former girlfriend, who did not return a request for comment. There was a level of anger that would come out, just this blank look, dead in the face of hatred. When he got angry, Brennan says, at one point I was like, I don't want to spend time with him. A person close to the situation denies that Kissel, who is currently in rehab, ever went on benders or experienced blackouts while drinking. In a statement, Kissel conceded, however, that he often used alcohol to self-medicate, which contributed to him entering unhealthy relationships. Through weeks of intense therapy at an inpatient facility, I have realized that I use alcohol as a way of trying to cope with childhood trauma, he says in a statement to Rolling Stone. A former Last Podcast Network contributor refers to Kissel as the missing stare in the true crime podcast community. The missing stare?
I don't know.
I don't get that either. Damn, this fucking article goes for a minute.
That is a weird...
Damn, look at the boys.
Long story short, Kissel slapped all of them bitches.
Nah, we're reading this whole thing. Perhaps more to the point, the allegations against Kissel have raised lingering questions about how much other behavior of the comedy and podcast scenes were, or how much other members of the comedy and podcast scenes were aware of his alleged behavior, particularly his co-hosts and network co-owners. Brennan refers to Kissel as the missing stare in a true crime podcast community. One dangerous person that everyone on the inside just knows is dangerous, covertly warns their own about or knows to avoid, but never fixes. One dangerous person that everyone on the inside just knows is dangerous, covertly warns their own about, or so they won't warn their own people about him. Just like, stay away from this cat. Multiple sources close to Kissel and the network have alleged that Zebrowski and Parks were well aware of Kissel's struggles with alcohol abuse. Fuck. Well, they knew about his alcohol abuse. Did they know about his abusive behavior, though? And have questioned why they did not intervene prior to Moon coming forward with her allegations. They should just say they fucked up and they're sorry. They didn't know what to do, says one source close to the New York comedy community. They have a sick friend who needs a lot of fucking help. A source close to the Last Podcast Network says that Zebrowski and Parks did make attempts to get Kissel to treatment, saying Kissel's alcohol was addressed on several different occasions. According to one source to the New York... Damn, there's so many just anonymous sources. Additionally, one source...
because they don't want to get hit by Kissel the same way all those bitches did.
Damn. One source close to the New York comedy community tells Rolling Stones that Benny and another female comics' allegations of forceful conduct by Kissel were also well known within the community, particularly at the Creek in the Cave, as early as 2015. It's common knowledge, the source says, has been for years. Last Podcast on the Left emerges from the New York comedy scene in 2011 with the trio recording and hosting live shows at the Creek in the Cave. From its beginnings, Last Podcast on the Left has become one of the most successful true crime podcasts in history. Within the past year, it has ranked one of the top all-time podcasts on Spotify in the U.S., according to Charitable, as well as number 13 on Apple's top podcast charts in America. I think they were right place, right time, says Brennan, the former contributor to the Last Podcast on the Left Network. Podcasting had just become a thing, but not an oversaturated market yet, and it just kind of worked. Fans of the show admired how deftly it balanced outrageous comedy with nitty-gritty true crime while still centering victims' perspectives, and something of a rarity in the true crime podcast world. One of the fans was Amber Rose, a filmmaker, true crime buff, who was pursuing a degree in forensic psychology and started listening to the show in 2015. It's not the Amber Rose, right?
I was going to say that name sounds very familiar to me.
The one that does the slut walks and used to fuck with Kanye West?
Let me look this up.
See if she's a filmmaker and a true crime buff. There are also podcasts where the hosts are all men and they make a lot of jokes at the expense of women and fans and queer and trans people who have gone through horrible things, says La Paz on the left. Didn't feel like they were being made, didn't feel like they were being, or they were making fun of the victims. They were making fun of the perpetrators. Very true. In 2017, Rose says she's met Kissel. Oh, this is a new one. In 2017, Rose says she met Kissel in Los Angeles at the El Rey Theater where he was judging a Halloween costume contest. She had dressed as Jeffrey Dahmer, a costume choice she now regrets. And though she did not win the contest, she claimed that afterwards he whispered, "You had my vote," into her ear. It was then, she says, that he came in for a kiss. I wasn't expecting it and moved a bit because I didn't want to be kissed on the lips, and ended up being kind of a little bit on my lip and my face. She says, it was a very strange situation. The second time she met Kissel, Rose alleged that she was looking for apartments while visiting her now ex-boyfriend in Milwaukee, and decided to go to a Last Podcast Network show, followed by a screening for Kissel's 2017 documenting his 2017 film documenting his failed run for a Brooklyn borough president. Hell yourself, America. I remember that shit. He did run for Brooklyn borough's fucking president. He got like 2% of the vote. They attended an after party at the bar where Rose alleged that the Last Podcast grabbed her breast without consent in full view of Kissel, prompting Kissel to berate the fan and speak on Rose's defense. The next day, Rose says she ran into Kissel at the bar at the Milwaukee airport, where he appeared to be noticeably drunk. The conversation was polite, she says, until his mood shifted and he made a comment alluding to the incident before. He basically was like, "It sucks that I can't just grab your breast like that," she says. Shortly afterwards, he got up for his flight, hugged her, kissed her very slappily on the mouth. I felt kind of like I had been manipulated. I felt violated on kind of two fronts, she said, referring to her interaction with Kissel at the airport and her encounter with the fan the night before. Rose and Kissel exchanged a few short texts thereafter, with Rose offering to talk to him if he was struggling because she said she felt bad for him. In my interactions with him, it was pretty clear that he had problems with alcohol, she says. A close family member confirmed to Rolling Stone that Rose had told them about both incidents shortly after each happened. A person close to the situation says Kissel never kissed Rose, characterizing her as an infatuated fan who attempted to seduce him. Okay, so I understand why this fucking article is super long, because Rolling Stones is super fucking
thorough,
exactly. So they're asking every fucking body, okay, what's going on? And like, they just have like confirmation and then denial. This person also denies that Kissel was ever inebriated at the Milwaukee airport. How would they know? Though she did not directly witness the incident with Rose, Kissel's former roommate, Jazzy, who requested that her last name be withheld, and who has spent time with Kissel and members of the Last Podcast Network, says she has never seen Kissel be inappropriate with a female fan.
I was never there. I never caught him saying anything, doing anything to anybody, and I have a psionic link deep in his brain saying that he did not do this shit.
It's literally like, she's like, yeah, I spent a little bit of time with him, but I know he hasn't done anything. And it's like, why the fuck are you talking? Okay. Moon, Kissel's
It's like
ex.
that one useless, like, witness from Ace Attorney.
Exactly. Everyone.
It's just made to fill the game.
Moon, Kissel's ex, also first encountered Kissel in early 2020 as a fan, attending a Last Podcast live show in her home state. Moon requested that Rolling Stone withhold her location to protect her privacy. She posted a photo on her Instagram stories of her getting ready for the show, tagging the host. A month later, she says, Kissel DM'd her out of the blue. For 3 months, she says they had an extended long-distance flirtation, chatting late at night over the phone via text. In August, she went to Las Vegas with Kissel and the Last Podcast hosts for one of their tours, along with Zabrowski's wife, Natalie Jean, who also hosts a Last Podcast, or who also hosts a Last Podcast on the network, who also hosts a podcast on the network, Spun. According to Moon, Kissel had been drinking heavily that evening. He was on a bender, she says. A source close to the Last Podcast Network says that Zabrowski and Jean knew Kissel was heavily drinking, but Henry did not know to what extent, and that they left the other couple early in the evening to go to a concert. When Kissel told Moon that he wanted to continue bar hopping, Moon recalls, she said she was going to bed. Late that night, she alleged walked into the room drunk, prompting a verbal argument. At one point, Kissel got on top of her, pinned her down on the bed. He pressed his forehead. Oh, so Moon is the one who we're going to see here. So this is Moon.
Okay.
All right. So he pressed his forehead to mine, pinned me down on the mattress, and I told him that he was hurting me. Kissel denies this. The next day, Moon told Gene about the details of the alleged confrontation, including that he had been drunk and verbally abusive. According to the text message shared with Rolling Stones, Gene says she was irate, saying that she was going to get Kissel removed from the network. Natalie. So that's Henry's wife. A source close to the Last Podcast Network denies this, saying Natalie doesn't have the power to take Ben off the network. For this reason, Moon says she did not tell Gene that Kissel had been allegedly physically abusive towards her in the hotel room, though she did tell a friend a few months afterwards who confirmed the situation, according to Rolling Stones. According to Moon, and according to a source close to the Last Podcast Network, Gene and Zabrowski stood in line with Moon to get her a separate hotel room from Kissel for the following night, but all rooms were booked, and Kissel ended up booking a room at a neighboring hotel, Circus instead. The next day, Moon and Kissel texted.
Circus.
Yeah, he ended up going to Circus. The next day, Moon
That's
and
a name
Kissel,
for a hotel. All right.
Yeah, you've never heard of Circus?
Circus. No. What?
It's in Reno and Vegas. Circus. The next day, Moon and Kissel texted about the incident. You were so abusive to me when you're drunk. Moon texted Kissel on August 21st. I'm not. Kissel responded, adding that he was trying to avoid confrontation. Moon does not reference the alleged physical abuse in these texts because she said she was scared of how angry he would get. I was having a hard time just for him to admit he was calling me names. Kissel denies that he was ever physically or verbally abusive towards Moon, and Jazzy says that she has never seen Kissel berate or yell at Moon, saying that he was always trying to defuse the situation and characterizing the relationship as rocky and toxic. Kissel referenced the incident to her once, and while he did not go into details, he seemed shook by what had happened in the hotel room, and as well as a little scared of Moon, Jazzy says. He was scared of Moon. He's 6'7".
You know what people do when they're guilty?
Lie.
Try to cover it up. Lie. Cheat. Sometimes steal.
Yeah. Last podcast on the left
Ask
didn't
white
feel like they
people.
were making fun of the victims. They were making fun of the perpetrators.
Yeah, no, white people are very good at that.
On August 22nd, Moon says she met Kissel at the hotel lobby, and they rode up the escalator together back to the room. While they were on the escalator, she says he told her he loved her for the first time, and like that, the escalator, our relationship can only go up from here. And after that, he says he acted like nothing ever happened. Moon continued to date Kissel for another year. The relationship ultimately ended in July. Moon says it was mutual. Jazzy says Kissel ended things with her. About a month later, Moon posted her Instagram reel prompting fans to start harassing her. I started getting reports that my Instagram account is deleted. She says Moon alleged that her Instagram was deleted twice due to Last Podcast on the Left fans brigading and harassing. A harassment tactic trolls use to mass report people's social media accounts and get them removed. People are bragging on Facebook and Reddit, calling me a clout goblin. She says they're calling her
Clout
a
goblin?
Oh, bro, that's fucked up. But like, could you
Oh,
imagine
God.
like you fucking clout goblin?
Goblin. Yeah, we need to start using that term
God.
in our.
Clout goblin.
The alleged.
So instead of like, okay, which one of you was the clout chaser? But which one of you is the clout goblin who did this?
See, now we're getting into the good shit. The allegations prompted an immediate divide within the Last Podcast fan community, with some questioning why the Last Podcast team did not immediately respond to Moon's allegations or immediately issue a statement condemning fan harassment. The team did ultimately post such a statement on Instagram stories discouraging fans from harassing Moon, though the post did not name her or address her allegations in any detail. Finally, in October, in an October 5th Instagram post, Last Podcast announced that Kissel would be leaving the show. We know how much our fans care for this show and how much it means to them, the post read. That's why we promise that we will still produce and perform these shows at a level you've come to expect with the sensitivity these stories deserve. The post came as a tremendous shock, not just to fans, but to Kissel himself, according to Jazzy, Kissel's roommate. Jazzy tells Rolling Stone that Moon initially came forward. Kissel told Jazzy that he had made an agreement with his co-host to go to rehab for 30 days and then return to the podcast. Jazzy said that according to her conversation with Kissel, his co-host has not expressed concerns about his alcohol use prior to Moon's allegations, with him characterizing it as a surprise that there were all these thoughts that were happening. She says, the October 5th statement says that he would not return to the podcast. The October 5th statement saying that he would not return to the podcast has left Kissel feeling slighted. She says, he really feels lost. Nobody has reached out to check up on him. Nothing. Damn. A source close to the Last Podcast Network insists that Parks and Zabrowski made attempts to discuss Kissel's drinking with him and tried to intervene to get him help on numerous occasions. The sources tell Rolling Stone Ben's substance issues were addressed on several different occasions over a 7-year period. It had come to the point where we were working, where the working relationship was tarnished. The source also tells the Rolling Stone that weeks before Ben's departure was announced, Marcus and Henry had a lengthy discussion with Ben about the future of the show and the need to go their separate ways. Now that Kissel has been formally dismissed from the show, lingering questions remain about how much his Last Podcast host knew about his issues with aggression and alcohol abuse. Brendan alleged that Kissel's Last Podcast co-hosts were well aware of his issues with substance abuse, categorizing their attitude towards him as one of willful blindness. It was an open secret, kind of a joke, says Benny. Or she says, Benny says there's absolutely
there
no
goes
way,
Kissel hitting those women again.
basically. There's absolutely no way that Henry
He's so
and
tall.
Marcus were unaware of Kissel's drinking. We all knew it was going to happen, and we all knew it was happening in front of us all the time, she adds. Damn.
They're the boys. They're just like, yeah, that's our Kissel, always beating women.
Wears fucking jeans to the Webby Awards and like a bow tie. Marcus just comes in a full suit. Henry's dressed ridiculous, as usual. A source close to the Last Podcast Network disputes his characterization. This characterization saying no one adopted a willful blindness to Ben's drinking, nor was it denied or hidden. It was openly spoken about on the podcast. Ben never showed up to work intoxicated, and he never missed a live show while on tour. Text messages shared with Rolling Stones between Brennan and Gene, the co-host of the Last Podcast Network, Spun, and wife of Last Podcast host Henry Zabrowski, appeared to indicate that, at the very least, his alcohol abuse and alleged belligerent behavior had been a topic of discussion for some time. In the text dated from September 15th, 2023, last month, Gene said Zabrowski had been a victim of Ben's selfishness for a long time now, framing his stint in rehab as a move that was being discussed for a long time, and are giving him an ultimatum to fix this or he's out. In additional text messages shared with Rolling Stone dated September 16th, Gene also recounts witnessing the aftermath of an alleged incident in Las Vegas, saying that while she did not know Kissel had been allegedly physically abusive, what he did was sick, and I stopped considering him my friend after that night. According to Brennan, she and Gene got into an argument over text messages that Brennan made a supportive comment on Moon's live stream. After Gene suggests that Brennan take a break from the podcast and wrote that she was extremely uncomfortable to have you on my show while you're interacting with strangers, Brennan told Gene that she would no longer be doing the show unless there were a little more values aligned. Until there were a little more values aligned reflected. The text message prompted Brendan to post a video on Instagram supporting Moon, stating that she would be parting ways with Stun. Wait. According to Brennan, she and Gene got into an argument over text messages after Brennan had a supportive comment on Moon's live stream. Brennan took a break from the podcast. I thought
You're having a rough time of it there, Mark. I
thought that Gene liked Moon, though. Like, I thought that Gene was supportive of Moon's allegations, remember? Because she got her a hotel room. So why is Gene not supportive of Brennan supporting Gene? Or why is Gene not supportive of Brennan, supporting Moon. Brennan tells Rolling Stone. Okay, but that's just. But that was something that. Who told us that? Let me see. You see what I'm saying? Like, why would she be mad about that?
It's probably one of those. The network said maybe we should not be opposing people that are on our network openly.
I don't know. Brennan tells a Rolling Stone that she was blindsided by Jean's response and is coming forward because she says, I have nothing left to lose. She found it particularly galling in light of Jean's podcast focused on victims' rights. I feel like they're ill-equipped to handle the subjects like they do, she says, of the last podcast network, saying that you support the victims of a person that you elevated and then being silent behind the scene. I don't know. It just bothers me. Through a representative for the last podcast network, Jean did not respond to any of Rolling Stone's questions about the contents of her texts. But in a September 22nd, my birthday, video on Spun's Instagram, she denied firing Brennan due to her support for Moon, saying, I, as a human being, would never in a million years ever suppress or hide or silence or threaten or menace someone from telling their story ever. Jean also urges her audience not to harass Moon, saying, I believe Taylor. I hurt with Taylor. Though Jean may not have been aware of the allegations of physical abuse against Kissel, Rolling Stone has found that whispers of misconduct were well known on the comedy scene for almost a decade prior to Moon coming forward. 3 people close to the Creek in the Cave, the comedy club where last podcast got to start, alleged that Rebecca Trent, the owner of the club, which currently only operates a location in Austin, Texas, specifically warned them about Kissel's behavior towards women on 2 separate occasions in 2015 and 2017. In 2015, according to a source close to the Creek in the Cave, Trent became aware of the specific allegation that Kissel had been forceful with the female comic. The comic in question did not respond to the request for comment. She confided in me that, this show is blowing up and I might have to kick him out, the source says. The show is blowing up and I might have to. So, the owner of the Creek in the Cave was going to kick out Ben because he was fucking being aggressive towards women. A source close to the last podcast network says that Zabrowski and Parks were never made aware of his allegations and that Trent had never discussed it with them. In response to the request for comment, Trent told Rolling Stones via email, I have not thought about or seen Ben Kissel since before 2016. I think I speak for most of us when I say I thought he would have died in a fire by now. Life is full of disappointments.
Damn.
Ooh, that sounded brutal.
That's pretty condemning.
In addition to raising questions about how much the last podcast network knew about Kissel's alleged behavior prior to Moon coming forward, the allegations have also prompted discussion as to whether the true crime podcast community in general, including both fans and creators, is as supportive of victims as they claim. Though the true crime community has been accused of exploiting victims, defenders say that the genre provides a service by telling survivor stories and raising awareness of violence against women in particular. The shaming of Moon within the last podcast fan base, combined with what some fans perceive as the podcast's failure to quickly respond to her allegations, appear to contradict that. If people want to advocate and tell victims and survivor stories, they have the right to do so, says Celine Beth Olson, a true crime documentarian and former podcaster. Olson came forward in July 2022 in a July 2022 Instagram post with her own allegations against Kissel, with her own allegations that Kissel had behaved inappropriately by accompanying her uninvited and blocking her in the bathroom of in the bathroom of her hotel room at the Watergate in November 2019. At the Death Becomes Us festival, a person close to the situation denies this. Of course they do, but there really is a code of ethics that comes into play. In response to specific questions about Last Podcast fanbase and its reactions to the allegations against Kissel, the Last Podcast Network denied that its community is toxic. With over 1 billion listens in 12 years, it will be impossible to have a fan base that is completely pure, especially considering the inherent vitriolic nature of social media itself, the statement says. We do not take abuse, harassment, or any kind of bad behavior lightly. We address these issues when they come to our attention. But the ongoing fan harassment that makes me scared. But the ongoing fan harassment makes me scared, says Moon, who says that it is still happening on her social media channels. It makes me wonder why they are listening to this horribly gory show. Do they hear for the justice of victims, or because they want to hear about women getting ripped apart to shreds? Sarah Benny is also terrified of harassment from fans, and as a result of coming forward, her life has changed exponentially. Since the end of her relationship with Kissel, she has long ago moved out of New York and has been sober for about 5 years. Recently, after years of experiencing nightmares, panic attacks, and the fear of the dark, she was diagnosed with PTSD, which she attributes largely to the alleged incident with Kissel. The diagnosis was confirmed to Rolling Stones by Benny's psychiatrist. When Benny first heard about the allegations against Kissel, she was reluctant to speak out. What prompted her to do so, she says, was the thought that the last podcast team or Kissel would try to spin Moon's allegations against him off as an aberration or as a relatively recent development. My experience, which I had really hoped was isolated, and I had blamed myself for many, many years, clearly was not an isolated incident, she says. As someone who has recently been through a 12-step program herself, she says she has sympathy for what Kissel is actually going through right now, but that sympathy is intermingled with fury and heartbreak, and perhaps above all else, disappointment. I wanted this person to get better, she says. I have acknowledged that I had hopes and dreams for this person who hurt me, and they didn't come to fruition, because my biggest hope for Ben would have been that he dealt with some of the things that hurt him. The fact that he didn't, she says, and allegedly went on to mistreat other women, made Sarah very angry and very sad. And this has been Kissel's statement. That was the last thing. All right, Ben Kissel's statement. Through weeks of intense therapy at an inpatient facility, I have realized that I use alcohol as a way to try to cope with childhood trauma. In addition, I tend to gravitate towards relationships with other trauma survivors, which of course can make for a toxic combination. I have had a long-distance relationship with Taylor, Moon, over the course of about 15 months. We never lived together. Our communication consisted mostly of text messages and phone calls, followed by brief in-person visits, all of which were marred by frequent arguments instigated by Taylor, which is why I ultimately chose to end our relationship on July 22nd. While the unhealthy nature of our relationship took a toll on my mental well-being, I want to make it clear that I have never been physically or verbally abusive with Taylor or any other woman in my life. Thank you so much for your support during this turbulent time as I focus and prioritize my mental health. As fans who have listened to me over the years know, I encourage everyone to spread love even in the midst of adversity. Update, Friday, October 13th, 107. The description of the text messages between Brennan and Jan have been updated for accuracy to reflect the circumstances of Brennan's departure from Spawn. All right. So, Ben Kissel
He did that
is
shit.
an abusive motherfucker, allegedly. Now,
No, he did it.
let's hear from Moon herself, or Taylor.
Unsettling allegations that have circulated in the podcast world recently and swept across social media, and at the center of all the controversy is my friend Taylor and her previous relationship with a celebrity podcaster. Taylor's here tonight to tell her side of the story. Taylor, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Hi.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm sorry. I told myself earlier not even to do that.
You're good. I know this is going to be tough to talk about, but I know that there are a lot of people that are supporting you right now and want to hear your side of this story. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate you being here. And Taylor, we debated a lot about whether even to talk about this, right? Because it is a difficult topic.
Yes.
But in the end, decided that your story needs to be heard.
Yeah.
And you can't get written out of this story.
Yes. So after everything that I have seen about so I thought long and hard about what to choose, which one of my stories about this mistreatment. I thought which one really hard because, but the one that I'm going to share is one that's also one of the hardest ones for me. But the reason why I picked this one is because a lot of fans of the show, of my ex-boyfriends, have questioned my credibility. And this story includes other people that helped me through this weekend.
See, I really feel like the fans have been tearing her ass apart.
No doubt.
Definitely. Fan bases tend to get very, very butthurt about perceived slights about people involved with their fan
wait
base.
till the other half of the story is away from social media. Wait till the other half of the story is away from social media to open up about what he can't defend himself from at the moment. Makes sense. Yeah, it's just a bit of weird timing to be frank.
To be fair.
Or to be fair. Is that what 2BF is? To be frank?
To be fair, yeah.
To be fair.
I can look it up real quick. TBF meaning to be fair.
Look, crying now? Wow.
I was on
wow. It's
one
almost
of
like
their
people
tours
have
with
emotions.
them.
What a surprise.
If you don't make a comment fully supporting Taylor, are they deleted? Oh, I think they are. Weird how you make all these claims but don't even believe they hold enough water to go to the cops. You guys are all falling hard for this. Could not be more obvious that this is a performative lie. Listen to how hard it is to rationalize how manipulative people can be. Holy shit. Dude, these guys are fucking assholes.
Indeed.
But as a person who has endured physical abuse all throughout my childhood, and as a person who has spent a lot of time with domestically abused people, this is not how they act. Crying is a form of a healthy response to trauma. People who have been physically abused to this degree do not have such a privilege. Numbness is what follows, and it takes years.
You
to
can't.
recover from stress.
You can't. Everyone cries
Actually,
for different
he
reasons, so.
does have a point. Numbness is something that happens. However, I
Shame on
I
her
do-
for this
I-
affront
Everything
to
can
all
hit
women
you
who
all
have
at
been
once.
yes, like I'm not going to say that like Moon's reaction is, unreasonable at all. It's not, and I definitely do think, yeah, she probably got hit.
It's not just because you've been saying that since the beginning of the entire.
Okay, look. Maybe I want someone to get hit. All right, I got no dog in the race, so I'm kind of just like, I just want the worst thing to happen. I guess.
That's not something you
Someone's
want to
gonna use that to cancel me, and I hope nobody finds this.
It's got to be America.
I was on one of their tours with them, and we were in Vegas.
I'm gonna go get some chips.
And their show just ended, and we all went out for a little bit, but I didn't feel very good, and I was just really tired, so I told my boyfriend at the time that I just was going to go back to sleep, go back to the hotel room and go to bed. And he wanted to stay out and have fun, and we were in Vegas, and so, I don't care. I said, okay. And so I went back to the hotel room and I went to sleep. And I woke up like 3 in the morning, and he wasn't back yet. And so I texted him just to be like, hey, just want to make sure you're okay. What's going on? Whatever, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but I fell asleep sometime after, and then when I was asleep, I felt like I was dead asleep. and he came back in the room, very, very inebriated, and he was saying, "Babe, babe, babe," and stumbling in, and I was, since I was asleep like this, I didn't sit up all the way. I just kind of like sat up like a little bit, and I was just like, "What?" Like, like you're just somebody wakes you up like out of nowhere. I was just surprised, and his tone immediately changed to a tone that I recognized immediately because I had heard it several times before, and I immediately just started apologizing, and I said, "I'm sorry, I'm just confused."
Let me see. The timing of this is kind of shitty since he's in treatment and unable to respond. She's trying so hard to push the tears out. To be honest, this is making it so much worse. Please get help. Just let her talk. Maybe quit attacking every aspect of her existence. Good Lord. She won't say his name because the fan base has slaughtered her, and I'm sure she has lawyered up. It's common sense. And I'm sure he has lawyered up. So she can't do anything without making sure it's convenient for him? Come on.
Most of the people in those kinds of situations make those kind of comments not knowing just how deep abuse can run.
These guys are just assholes. And, like, you can even see and hear just straight up. Every other comment is like, it's not necessarily
She sounds
calling
like
her a
she's
liar,
reliving that
but
moment. That's not something you can easily fake. Either she should be making bank in the fucking Hollywood scene, or
This gets rough.
she is telling the truth as she sees it.
This gets so much more rough.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. Please just don't be mad at me. I'm very confused right now. I didn't know what you were talking about when you woke me up. He started to throw stuff around the hotel room next to me while I was on the bed. He was standing next to the bed next to me, throwing stuff. And two things said. So he got on the bed while he was yelling at me, and he kept calling me all these names. And I wasn't even saying anything other than that. I was just saying, "I'm sorry, please stop." I don't know, they're just calling me all these things, and he put both his hands on my shoulders. And I'm only 5'2", and I weigh about 110 pounds. And my ex-boyfriend is 6'7", and he weighs about 400 pounds. And my legs were completely under the sheets, so I couldn't move my legs. And he pushed me down while he was yelling at me. And the reason I said those words in that post were because those were when he would get that drunk. He would always he would
Yeah, I mean, regardless if anyone thinks this isn't 100% factual, something is obviously wrong. And Kissel and the boys recognize it.
She very much believes what she's saying. Regardless of if it's true or not, It is hard to
being
fake
a
something like
petting
this.
loser, and you're this stupid bitch. And that's what he said when he pushed me down in the bed really hard, and he pushed his forehead into my face like that. So hard I felt my head sink halfway in the mattress. And the rest of my body was sculling in with it. Because he was holding me down and pushing me so hard. And I just said...
To be fair,
I said...
she is crying way too much.
I don't think you can say how much somebody should cry.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the way like it sounds. Well, all I'm saying is I get where people are coming from. Because it sounds like this just happened to her, like, yesterday.
No, it's the fans.
She's recalling a far back story right now.
She's recalling it back, but like the fans are like harassing her. Like, you know what I mean? Like she's being fucking berated by the
Like at this very moment?
fans. At
Yeah,
this
look
very
at the chat on the
moment,
side.
The chat is going crazy. There's half people saying fuck you guys, the other half is saying fuck her, and like yeah, no, it's
All
like
right.
right now,
So what did I miss?
Well, she just recounted that statement. Remember the one where she was in the hotel room and he basically head pushed her down into the bed?
Yeah.
Like head butted her? Yeah, she's basically telling that story.
Okay.
And I said, you're hurting me. But he didn't stop.
I like how the that little bit of made him
But
jump.
he didn't stop. And he kept calling me a pathetic loser.
Mods are deleting messages.
The whole
bro.
time while
So there's a lot more people saying
his
fucked
face
up
was
shit that we
pushed
can't say.
into my head like that.
Damn.
And I just
Yeah,
I need to
and
get a paper
because
towel.
and he started yelling at me for crying. And he said, "Why are you crying? Why aren't you just happy when I walk in a room? What's wrong with you? You should always be happy when I come in. How dare you not be happy all the time when you see me?" And I just couldn't stop crying. I could look over at the clock at the corner of my eye, and over an hour went by, and I finally just stopped paying attention to how long it was, and he finally rolled over and he fell asleep. And then the next day, we were all gonna all meet up together with his his business partners, and one of his business partners' wives who also has a show on the network.
Talking
and
about Natalie.
there was a little discussion of maybe like going on a double date together, and I don't even remember. I think I might have still just been wearing my pajamas. I couldn't even get dressed, but we were down at the bar to meet after the next day. And his business partner said, "Oh, how about we do like a double date together or something?" And then so, well, my ex-boyfriend was it was very obvious that he was in a...
Damn it. There's a bitch named Julia that is going off, and a mod blocked her, so I can't see it. But like, can a mod block Julia? She's being an awful person. Get therapy, Julia. I'm like, bruh, I want to see what Julia was saying.
Why does the name have to be Julia?
Why? What's Julia?
Julia's the name of my artist who I absolutely love.
She's being a bitch, apparently.
No, she was. You would never watch this kind of stuff.
She's being a bitch, apparently. I don't know. That's what they're saying in here.
I'm pretty sure this isn't even like news story. I'm pretty sure she's lives in like Brazil or something.
A bad mood. So he wound up leaving. He went somewhere else. And so I was walking with her, the woman I just referenced, and we were walking towards to go to the concert at Vegas that we were at, and I don't know if she could tell something was wrong with me or not, because she looked at me and she just said, "Hey, are you okay?" And I was scared. I didn't know if I should say anything or not because those were his friends, and I didn't know if they would believe me. But I told her everything because I was too scared, but I told her a lot. And, it had been going on for a while like that, and so I just told her about that one night, and she believed me. She believed me, and she told her husband. And so I spent the rest of the day with them and talking. And while I was there with them, my ex was sending me text messages that weren't normal. Like I said, the reason why I chose this story is because I don't want to send screenshots. It's too personal for me. But this is why I'm saying I can provide my evidence this way. And his business partner was seeing these weird text
receipts would have been way more
they're not
impactful.
normal to send.
I feel like receipts are necessary when you have a whole
So
community going after you.
basically, I'll let you guys know, it was to the point where his business partner and they were worried so much about my safety that they stood in line to get me another hotel room. But unfortunately, because of the event, all the hotel rooms were booked, and we didn't know where my ex-boyfriend was at the time. And it's getting close to the nighttime, and she was asking me, are you sure you're going to be okay? Are you sure, just because of the hotel room thing? And she told me that she was going to keep her phone next to her all night.
This chick is barely holding it together, man. I bet she probably can't even have chat up, just for the simple fact that, she wouldn't be able to take it. Because there are so many comments that we can't see. Bitches like Julia talking about Hail Ben. You can't see it because the mods deleted it. But it's just
Ben Hile.
It just shows you that they don't give a single fuck about, they just want their man to be a good person, but he just doesn't seem like it. And they don't even know about the other allegations. Really? They don't even know about the other allegations, right? All they know about is her. They don't know that they have Benny, Sarah Benny. They don't know that they have the other ones from the article that I read and totally remember. They have 3 or 4 different girls, all with accounts of verbal and some physical abuse.
And maybe some of them have receipts.
Most of them have receipts that they shared with the Washington Post.
In case I need it.
Or was that the Washington Post?
We read from the Rolling Stone.
Those Rolling Stone.
Shut up.
I was going to say,
how the hell do you get those two confused?
I was going to say, if the receipts were on the Washington Post, why were we reading from Rolling Stone?
Shut up.
Remember, Rolling Stone
to call
can't get no
because I said what I was
satisfaction.
gonna do was I was just gonna lock the door, and like what I meant is like, you know, that bolt on hotel doors, right? Just in case. Well, I had so much anxiety that night, but he didn't come back to the hotel, and I don't know how, but somehow I wound up falling asleep for like an hour or two. But I woke up in like an immediate panic, and because I was scared, and my first thing I did, I didn't even do anything, but I sat up, I grabbed my phone, and I texted her or messaged. This is what sucks, is this was on my Instagram, and that's deleted. So people are saying, well,
they got her Instagram deleted, remember?
I want to say, show me this, like, that's gone, guys, but it was there, and I could have showed you but I don't want to. Anyways, I texted her and I begged her not to say anything.
But seriously, how'd she get her Instagram deleted?
A bunch of people must have spam reported her.
Yeah, they
and
spam
that got her.
Remember?
I don't remember that part. It was a long article.
Yeah, they spam the fuck.
But that's something that can happen on any platform. If enough people end up disliking you, they can basically just shun you out of existence.
Oh, I know.
Because I was so scared. And she didn't, at least to my knowledge. And that's why I wanted to share this story, because after this, I just never talked about it again. I was too scared, and I never brought it up ever again because I didn't want him to make me mad. I didn't want him to be mad. I'm sorry, I'm misspeaking. I'm so nervous right now. What I meant to say was, I didn't want, after he did that, to that level, I didn't want him to get more mad at me again. And so I just never said anything again to anyone.
I know this is really tough for you, Taylor, obviously, and I appreciate you sharing this story. And I just want you to know that I feel for you, because you know this is just not something that anyone should have to go through. And so I'm sorry for the experience that you had that night.
Thank you.
It also sounds like it wasn't really an isolated incident either.
No, it was not.
When would you say the alleged mistreatment started? Because y'all were together for a year.
Yeah, we started dating in May, and the last day I saw him was when I left on July 23rd. Was the last day I ever saw him. May of, not this last May, but the year
of 2022.
Before. Yeah, that's when we started dating. We had started talking before, but actually dating in May. And I'm sorry, can you repeat your question again?
When do you think this alleged mistreatment started?
Well, so we would go out a lot in the beginning to like bars, and I don't really drink very much, but I just know that it's kind of like a social norm to like do, so I go out. I don't have anything against them, but so that's what we would do a lot in the beginning. And in the beginning of the first few weeks, he didn't really drink. He would get drink, but it would be, it wouldn't be past a point, right? And then there started to slightly be some rude comments here and there, sprinkled in, just some really, just things that uncalled for comments, really. And and I could tell that, or at least I thought when I was there at the time, I thought he felt bad after, because like he would take me out to eat to a nice restaurant or something like the next day. Like he didn't say sorry, but in my mind I was like, okay, well, because it didn't start out big, it just started out little like that. And I just think, oh, people say stuff sometimes when they're drinking. And so I kind of gave the beginning times a little pass.
The abuse
And
rationalizations.
then, I don't really know.
So again, the comments are going ham. You can't really see the negative ones. But like this dude, fuck brother, crazy how the women in here defending an abuser just because they like him. And like that's what they were talking about in the Rolling Stones article, that these women really like Ben. So a lot of them are actually coming to his defense instead of like,
Oh
supporting.
God, Ben, hit me next!
Yeah, literally. Right.
Slap my pussy!
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know how it happened.
I
but
will get canceled here.
This is
somehow
going on a
I got-
YouTube video, asshole.
No. I mean, wait, this is?
The
Yes.
person
Yeah.
I mentioned that
that
several
was telling
times.
me
I was never here.
that they were in love with me.
You're clearly
was
still
the
here.
same person that
You know what? I'm sure it'll be
kept calling
fine.
pathetic loser at night. And in the morning, he would tell me he loved me, and I started to feel guilty.
He didn't love you. He loved the idea
because
of
he,
you.
After he would have a bender, he would do something for me nice, he would take me out to eat, or he would buy me like a present.
There's a term for
And
this.
so I started to feel guilty,
Technically, loving the idea of someone's
Because that
parasocial,
was
but if you're in
even
an actual
something that they
relationship, it's
started
not
to say.
parasocial.
No. I mean, like, when you buy a gift for someone after
he
they've
would
done
be
something
drinking,
wrong instead of
and,
saying sorry.
Conditioning, gaslighting.
It's... I want to say it's love bombing, but I think love bombing is something else, but it's in the same vein.
I'd say it's more of a conditioning thing. Oh, if you
I-
withstand my abuses, you get nice things. Don't you see how nice I am?
I'll look up the proper term, because I had a friend who had this happen with, like, growing up with her mom. Her mom would do something wrong, and instead of saying sorry, her mom would like buy her a gift or something. So she has a hard time receiving gifts. So I'm just like, yeah, I've heard about this before. So it has a term. I don't remember it, and I'm going to find out.
And let us know when you do. I'm curious.
I told him I don't want you to give me anything. Because he would yell at
God, it's like literally Batman looking for the fucking Joker. Like, that's the shit that it sounds like. 1950s Batman typing into his fucking supercomputer. I'm finding the Joker right now for you.
Wouldn't I be Alfred in this case?
Nah, Alfred doesn't use the supercomputer. He gets the fucking drinks.
The law don't say nothing about the Pokemons, Batman.
Oh, man.
Okay, so... This is going on for... Keep playing the video.
You're like, this is not what I found yet.
I'm getting this off Reddit. That's why I'm saying just keep going. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna let these guys cook or not. Because Reddit, best source in the world.
And I would be asleep, and then
Better
they would wake
than
me
some.
up, and just yell at me about why I should always smile because. And then I just started thinking maybe I'm not happy enough for him.
I'm not happy enough for him. Damn.
And, the reason why I asked her not to say anything is because I was so in love with him that my vision of protecting, you want to protect who you love, and at the time, my vision of what that was skewed, and now that I'm not in it, I can see that I shouldn't have begged her not to say anything.
So this was fairly consistent behavior soon after the relationship started.
Yeah, and I'll just say I'm trying to think about how to say it. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Take all the time you need.
She's used to apologizing.
The nicer the present
She's conditioned.
he bought me, the worse I was treated at night when he would be drunk during those times when he would be that drunk. And it just started out slow and it just kept getting worse. And so that's why I felt so guilty, because I was thinking, this person did this. And I even told his business partner and his business partner's wife that because that time wasn't the first incident that this happened. And because of the extreme level of how severe the last incident was, he had gave me a very big present, and I'm not comfortable disclosing. However, that was something that he was using against me a lot when he would drink too much, and to make me, I guess, no, I don't want to accuse him. I'm not trying to be malicious. Please don't. This is, I'm just trying to say, please don't take anything negative out of what I'm saying, because this is such a complicated issue, because there's so many factors involved, and I know I'm being scrutinized for every little bitty word I'm saying.
Bruh, she is a broken woman. Don't take what I'm saying as malicious or that, I don't want to say anything negative about him.
Yeah, this sucks.
Don't you wish you were watching Ratchet shit?
Yeah, I was literally just about to say that, but I'm just like, oh man, this is like, is that a bad joke to make right now? But you just did it for me. Thanks, Mark. Is this a whole ploy to get me back on Ratchet Night? It's just like, it's either Ratchet Night or this.
Well, you know how much he looked up to Ben, so who knows?
Abuse victims. You know what I'm saying? This is what we're going after.
Not gonna lie, we've seen a couple of those on Ratchet as well.
Yes, we have. Damn. Good joke. But also facts joke.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I can find plenty of articles.
Where was I?
On it.
Nothing definitive.
But there's no term about it. Like, I have found, like, an article that says, like...
Honeypot?
That mentioned what I mentioned. Like, it's just like, this is not how you say sorry. Like, you don't say sorry by buying someone a gift, having sex, or making dinner. And that's not a sincere apology. You actually need to apologize.
Okay, but that's not what we know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no.
Okay. You told me to look this up.
Actually, you said you were gonna look it up. I didn't tell you to look it up.
All right, whatever.
I'm expecting
You said. I'm just gonna put it under the umbrella of love bombing.
No. If anything, it's gonna.
Which I can do.
Because
love
trauma
bombing,
bonding, though.
I think that might be it. I think Silver actually. Yeah. I think it's that one.
No, trauma bonding is when you get close, because
Yeah, you get close
trauma.
to.
No, not trauma bond. Wait, no. What?
Trauma gifting,
That might be it.
or is it?
Hold on,
I thought it was like honey potting.
Trauma.
I was also looking into it. Trauma bonding
gifting.
did butt pup.
Oh God. You know what? I'll just scroll back in my fucking DMs. Maybe I can find it.
Find it.
It's not that important.
We were
Look,
just talking about how
It is.
this was.
No, you're just doing this to fuck with me. You
Okay,
really don't care.
yeah, I
Go
told his
find it.
business partner and his wife, I disclosed to them exactly what he gave me. I told them the exact thing, and I told them that I wanted to give it back to him, because I told them that that there had been times where he was being that way and yelling at me in my face about it. And I would tell him that, please, if you're gonna yell at me, then I don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I just felt guilty. I don't know what else to just say. I felt like I had to stay because this person told me that they loved me. And then I felt like at the time, I felt like they were trying to make it up to me.
Is that why you didn't leave at the first signs of this behavior?
Yeah, because it didn't start out so big. It just started out just being like, just mean stuff for no reason sometimes. And then, it's like, let me take you out somewhere to eat nice, or let's go to Target, go shopping at Target or something. Just like some examples, but
Oh, these bitches love Target.
One of the problems, this is one of the reasons why I stayed too. It's not that it was just consistent like this, is that I begged him a lot, please stop drinking. I pleaded with him like almost every day to stop. And for a while, after the first couple of really bad incidences where he knew, he never said he was sorry, but I feel like him at saying, it started out with him, he told me, well, he always said, I still want to drink, but I know I drink too much, but I still want to be able to drink every day, or at least drink. So I'm only going to drink when I go out with friends or on the weekend, and I won't drink at home. And
so he was basically promising to slow down on the drinking. Is that what you're saying?
And he would for a long time, and then during those times everything was so good. But I'm going to tell you this too. I don't want to go on the story of this, but this is how severe it is. And there was only one day during the whole relationship we were together, one day that he spent sober. And the reason being that he's been sober was because before that he was on a bender, and I was with him, and I feel like that was the way he was trying to make it. His treatment up to me was staying sober that one day. He even made a joke about it to the waiter at the restaurant we ate at. And what's so sad to me is this stuff is not funny. It was very sad.
Hey, I'm an abusive alcoholic, but not today.
Right, like, because it's like, but I think that kind of broke her, is that the shit that's like the reason why she can't get up in the morning, or what's keeping her in crippling fear, is something that he can make an offhanded joke to a waiter about. So she's realizing now, like, it's not funny. Like, you're literally laughing at my fucking pain. Now, that's why that it's not funny is really kind of hitting hard.
Okay. So we know, and based on what you've told me, the relationship with your ex ended fairly abruptly, about a month after the incident that you described, right?
No. This happened last year, in August.
The relationship ended last year
No,
or this year?
no, I'm sorry. I misunderstood your question.
Oh, okay.
What, can you rephrase it to me? I'm just sorry. I'm processing a lot and I'm having a really hard time, not just with saying this story, but I'm still like mentally processing the events of this last week that happened to me.
Yeah. No,
So,
I understand. And you're totally fine. There's no need to apologize, Taylor. Thank you.
See how she's so trained to apologize. I'm sorry. I didn't. It's really unfortunate.
After the incident that you described earlier,
mhm.
In the hotel room, after that incident, did the relationship end shortly after that? No, it didn't.
No.
It went on for about how long after that incident?
That incident happened in, I don't know the exact date, but I'll just say the event. It was at PsychoFest
Okay.
in Las Vegas.
But the relationship with your ex, it ended in
In
July.
the
in
last
July?
day, the last day I saw him was July 23rd. I just left. I just got my plane ticket and I just left.
Okay.
And I don't really want to go into the specifics about that, actually.
Understand. No, completely understand. After the relationship ended, and I think this was about a month after the relationship ended, is when you made a statement on social media about it, right? Alleging how the relationship had been unhealthy for
Yeah.
you. Why did you decide to say something at that point? Can you tell me a little bit about your thought process there?
I don't even know what my thought process was. I just like had to. I kept hearing, even though I hadn't seen him since July 23rd, I just have a really hard time not hearing in my head being called a pathetic effing loser all the time. And I would ask him to not call me those things. Every time he did, I would always ask him not to. But whenever he would be sober, and I would want to talk about it. He would just say like, "What are you talking about? Like we already went. Like I bought you a gift. Like what do you want? You know?" And so I couldn't even really talk about it. And you know what sucks though is everything started so good. And everything was so good. And I was so in love. And then those parts just started coming out more. I wasn't always there, you know? So I don't want you to think that I fell in love with this horrible person, because I didn't. I fell in love with somebody that's amazing. That just has problems. And I really, really, really miss the person I fell in love with, because it got to the point towards the end, middle, and not even middle, maybe quarter, I don't know. I was in a relationship with one person, but I was talking to two people at the same time. But the person that I loved became less and less, and then this other person became more and more.
You're talking about the different sides of your ex, right?
Yeah, and it would just be because I begged to please stop drinking. But he'd always told me, I want to still drink every day. I don't want to not drink every day. And that hurt me so bad. Because I wanted to believe that he could try to control it. And so that's why I stayed too. Because I thought maybe he would be able to not get that drunk anymore, but he always will end up getting that way again eventually.
And a lot of times that's what's so tragic about the disease of alcoholism, is that when you are in your disease, you say things and do things that are completely out of character. And on the inside is an incredibly good person, just like this person that you fell in love with, Taylor. But when you're deep in the disease, it can change you a lot. And this is, I'm speaking as someone who battled those same demons. And said things that I regretted while I was in my disease as well. So you made this statement on social media, and that's when the controversy started. Did it start right away?
I had no idea. For a couple of weeks I had it up. And then, to be honest, I had no idea that it went crazy like that until literally at one day. It all happened in one day. I got all these messages, all the like screenshots and stuff, like Reddit, or like people were saying that, I'm sorry, I'm trying not to mess with my hair. I'm nervous. I'm fighting really hard to be still.
You're fine.
And so I went to go look, and I was like, so I was shocked. I was surprised. Strictly, okay, because first of all, I don't even want to say first of all. That sounds bad. I was surprised because I hadn't seen my ex since July 23rd, and I posted this reel sometime in August, like the middle of August. And I unfollowed him off social media. I don't want to, off my, my personal one that is no longer there, to be honest. Like, I don't even want to look at social media right now, whatever. But on my main one at that time, I unfollowed him because I didn't want to see what he was doing. Whatever, like on his stories, whatever. I just unfollowed him. And so to me, that was in the past. And I know I'm just going to address this, and I hate to have to do it. I was getting a lot of criticism for the fact that I still had pictures of him on my Instagram. And I'm going to explain to you why. And I hate the fact that I have to explain. But I have been picked apart. Literally every part of my life by these people that don't know me. I've never even had a conversation with me. The reason why I still had pictures of my ex-boyfriend on my Instagram is because I couldn't bring myself to physically pull up my Instagram page to look at the pictures. I couldn't look at them. I wasn't ready to look at them yet. So yeah, I posted it and said what I said. But you know what? In my mind, I was moving on, and I kept posting and moving on forward past that. And whenever I was at a mental state to where I could handle it, I would address it eventually. But at that time, I was still dealing with a lot of emotions because not a lot of time had passed from the last time I had seen him or spoke to him. And so to answer all of you, that's why.
Okay, that's a little weird.
What?
I didn't delete the pictures because I couldn't stand to look at them. I feel like
I understand that one.
I understand that. Yeah, that's very reasonable.
I've had a very similar experience.
But you want to delete them, but you can't because you don't want to look at them.
Yes. This was with a well, yeah. Eventually. Hold on. Let me cook. Sorry for interrupting, but yeah, there was a person that I was friends with, and I'll just say I decided one day I did not want to be friends with them anymore. But you know, for reasons,
Was it?
I'm leaving out vague. I'm being vague because the truth is too embarrassing.
Was it Z?
Fuck no.
Who was it?
It was someone else. You don't know her.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah. So like, I meant to like unfollow her on like Twitch for a really long time, but I'm just like, I can't bring myself to open her page and hit the unfollow, but I was afraid she was more successful than me. That's the reason. And I didn't want that reality confirmed. Like, it's probably true, but damn it, I don't have to see it. No, because I found a way to avoid it. So if you go to the Twitch app,
What's her name?
I'm not telling you.
Why not? I don't want to know for any particular reason.
Yeah, Margo, you're going to tell me the instant I fucking give you the link or tell you her name, you're going to be like, yeah, bruh, she's destroying you. Even if it's not true, which probably is, again. Like, I'm not denying, like, she definitely
be like, her
deserves
name
to
is
be
Pokimane. Hopefully she hasn't gotten any famous.
Oh no, Pokemon's one of the famous ones. I know that one. I haven't even talked to them. You know, because I'm a nameless peon in her eyes.
Fine. Let's finish
Look,
this video.
The point is, on the Twitch app, you can just fucking hold the person's name down, and you have the option to just click unfollow without seeing anything. So,
Congratulations.
I did it.
I'm glad your pettiness won out in the end.
I mean, like, it didn't feel very good, but I am happy to have, like, just kind of moved on. Like, I'm happy to move on acknowledging that, yeah, this was my pettiness, and hopefully I can improve upon this in the future. And I think I have.
All right.
I was physically ill, wanting.
You're also petty as shit.
So are
wanted to
you.
throw up looking at the pictures. So, there.
The human condition is to be petty as fuck.
And
I've
we
never
obviously
done a
know
single
that
petty thing.
you're
Oh, shut the fuck up,
Instagram
Marco!
account
No, I will
was
stop
removed.
this video
Yes.
right
After some of
now.
What
Okay.
What petty thing have I done? Name
Okay, alright, listen. So one time, me and Marco were arguing, or we weren't arguing, because, okay, alright, so, yeah, me and Marco were, like, in a group chat in PSN, it was a party, and I think it was, like, me, Marco, what was that guy, Diablo, I think his name was, right?
Untrue. Everything you're about to say is a lie.
and like
That's how you know it's true.
Yeah.
And then
basically-
Diablo said that nobody died at Sandy fucking Hook. Okay?
Yeah,
He said
you
no
remember?
kids died at Sandy Hook.
Yeah,
And I was
that's what he said.
And I'm literally
No, I agree.
that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. No,
Yeah,
you did not
so-
agree. And then Diablo's like, well,
Shit,
if you're
wait,
telling me
hold
no
on.
kids died,
Hold
then
on.
you're telling me that this happened. And then you were just like, you know, he's got a point there. And I'm
No,
like,
I didn't say that.
No,
Shut
he
the fuck up.
doesn't.
You're being petty
You
as
were
shit right now.
agreeing
You're
with him.
making shit up.
you
No,
were
I said
agreeing with him.
I literally just said, like, I don't give a fuck about any of this because,
No,
like, I was going through a
you
very
were
nihilistic
agreeing
phase at
with
that
him
time, and I was just like,
super hard.
look,
You were like, yeah,
I
he's
said,
right.
like, it doesn't matter if those kids
That
died
shit
at
didn't
Sandy Hook
happen.
because, like, someone died right now, someone got raped right now, horrible shit is happening right now. Marco just left the party, and, like,
No.
I'm just like, all right, he
I'll
just
tell you what
raged out.
happened.
And then, like, I got off of, like, PSN the next morning. Like, I was just playing Monster Hunter World.
No, it was not the
And then,
next
and then, I,
morning.
and then I got a friend request from Marco.
It was the
he
next
fucking
day.
removed me.
It was
yes.
no, it was the same day. Listen, it was the same
No,
day.
it was not the same day. It was literally
It was
the next day,
1000%
Marco.
The same day.
It was the next day.
You probably only got it
Here's
the next
what
day.
happened. Here's what happened. And again, her storytelling is atrocious. So, Diablo's going off about how Sandy Hook doesn't exist.
Don't try and convince people that I agreed with Diablo
You
because I
agreed
didn't.
with
Okay.
him like I wouldn't have unfriended you.
No.
No, agree. You were agreeing with him, and he was
I
saying
wasn't
the dumbest
agreeing
shit
with
ever.
him.
And you were like, you know what? That makes sense to me. And I was
No,
like,
that's
and
not
then
what I
Diablo's
said.
like, yeah, bro. See, these fucking libtards don't even have any. And I'm like, how the fuck?
Not
none
Realm
of what you were
probably
s-
said something
no,
like
no,
that
no,
makes
no.
sense to me
Realm
because
was-
Realm's fucking stupid as hell.
No, Realm is more seems more liberal than anything, but it seems like he doesn't care. But Diablo's going on about how Sandy Hook doesn't exist. I'm
I
refuting
promise
him.
you, it was not me. It was
I'm
not
like,
me who agreed
you
with Diablo.
100 That's
You're
why I
confusing me.
unfriended you.
You're confusing me for someone else, man.
You were agreeing the fuck, bruh.
Marco,
I
I wouldn't
swear.
lie to you about this.
If we had this chat out, it would be like amazing how you would hear yourself being like, you know, he's got a point there. And I'm like,
That's not something I said.
no, he does not.
Marco,
have a fucking point.
I've got a very long, very clear memory, okay?
Yeah, that's according to you. We don't know how long or clear that memory is.
Marco, I remember all of your jokes and you don't.
I don't. But that does not stop me from being correct in this instant. He's like, I'm like, damn.
Marco, what'd you have for breakfast yesterday?
I don't eat breakfast.
Why don't you eat breakfast?
Makes
It's
me
literally
slow.
the most important meal of the day.
It makes me slow. And I cannot function properly throughout the day if I just stuff my mouth with grits and eggs.
Your Instagram account was removed
Yes.
after some of the controversy online started. Did your ex or anyone else from his circle reach out to you?
No. Nobody's talked to me. Nobody's messaged me. Nobody's said a word to me. And I feel like they're just trying to. I feel like they want everybody to forget about me. I feel like they just. I feel like they just want to not address actually what happened to me, even though one of the co-owners was there with me and tried to get me a hotel room away from this man. And the reason why I decided to say this was because I heard their statement and what they said, that they're only people and I'm only a person too, but I don't have a big network. I'm all alone, and I don't want it to sound anything. I'm not trying to be malicious. I'm just saying, because I was not mentioned, I have to be heard somehow, because people need to know what I went through.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not funny.
She's going back to that restaurant with that waiter. It's not funny.
Speaking of that statement that was made,
Wait, what?
as we know, you're
God, it's amazing the things that you miss. So, when during the only day that he spent sober with her was after he had a huge fucking bender, and he was coming off of it, and they went to the Cheesecake Factory, and he made a joke to the waiter about how this is his only day sober because he's been on a huge bender, and when they were laughing about it, all she could think was it's not funny, because she felt like they were laughing not just at, like, you know, the waiter didn't understand this, but Ben definitely did. Maybe he wasn't thinking about it, but the laughing was at her expense, basically, because all those drunken times in abuse. And so, like, when they're laughing, she feels like it's like, not only am I experiencing this abuse, this crippling anxiety that hits me every day, because is he gonna come home drunk and berate me? Is he gonna do this? Is he gonna do that? On top of all of that, it's just a big joke to you. Like, this thing that's affecting me, the most negative, you know, thing that's affecting my life right now, is a joke to you. And it's not funny. And that's sort of like, you know, it takes her back, you know, even still. Like, it's not funny. Which is deep.
Your ex is actually taking a sabbatical right now. And we've heard that he's going in to treatment for his mental and physical health. I mean, what's your reaction to that?
But he still denies any wrongdoing.
It's
because
unimportant.
I feel like treatment.
Pause the video right here.
I don't know.
I do have something to say about this.
Go ahead.
I don't think bringing up the news that he's gone into treatment to her and asking her how she feels about it is... I feel like that's a question that just shouldn't have been asked to her.
Why?
I mean, this is kind of about her, not about him at all. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that he is kind of seeking treatment for the things that were the biggest issue in their relationship. How do you feel about that?
The problem is that isn't the fact that he's seeking help. The problem is that despite seeking help, he is denying everything. He's denying her pain, denying her trauma, denying anything ever happened. And is still trying to right the wrongs. He's basically trying to erase every bit of evidence that anything that could have happened, even though people can still see it. And people are still taking a side. Like, the mods are deleting comments in that very live stream while they're still talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
She's still, to this day, and this live stream happened 4 weeks ago, she's still, to this day, receiving threats. You know, we just read that article.
Yeah, that's an angle, and I think it's a completely valid one. I was just saying, like, for some reason, it gives me the same kind of energy as, like... I don't know, it gives me the not all men energy. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not getting that at all.
Yeah, no, I know it's, like, for a fact that, like, it's not the same thing. But, like, I don't know why I got the same, like... vibe from it? Like, it's kind of just like, oh, look, he's getting better. It's just like, okay, and?
No, but I think it's more like, you know... Are you happy? Not even happy, but are you, like,
I mean, I guess this is like something
content?
that, like, as like the interviewer, yeah, you probably this is a question to ask. People probably are wondering this.
Yep.
I guess it just kind of reminded me of the not all men comments.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Really what that means. And I just know how
Pause the video for a second.
Promised me he was gonna slow down.
Do the people
one more thing to
on
say.
your OnlyFans support you at all? You have supporters in us.
He has an OnlyFans?
I don't think so. Maybe, but like the fact that you even bring that up is a little.
This is kind of a weird time to bring up. She has an OnlyFans. Yeah,
It
it's just
is.
like everybody on your OnlyFans supports you. It's just like, I
She had a
watched
what
you
now?
take dick like a champion. You got this, girl. I appreciate the support, but this is not the time. You took those 13 inches. You can get past this.
But I think this is kind of like the slut shamer, because I don't even think she has an OnlyFans. You know what I mean?
Anyway, what was I gonna say? Oh, right. Not all men, people, shut the fuck up. That's all I wanted to say.
But not all men.
But like I said,
I mean, they aren't wrong though. Are they wrong?
That's not the point.
They're
It's
not wrong. The
Are they-
point
are they
is
wrong,
just
though?
let the fucking victim, like, grieve.
Yeah, not all men do this, but this one fucking did.
Exactly.
I mean,
Well, it's a subject for another time.
they're not spitting inconsistencies or illogical, or they're not.
Yes,
spitting
but
logical fallacies.
Margo, come on, just play the video. Like I
They're
said,
like the all lives matter people. It's like
they're literally the all lives matter. Just like all lives matter, except it's just like all rapes matter, and it's just like what?
Whoa.
That's what not all men people say to me. It's just like all rapes matter. I don't know.
God, I'm gonna have to bleep that. You stop saying rape. God damn it! Stop making me say it. Nobody's saying that word anymore. Stop to bleep that.
Wait, you say it all the time.
Nah, I probably won't. All right.
He's
let's do it.
but he's trying to keep it off of the YouTube stuff.
Oh right.
Well, you know what?
We'll get demonetized as shit.
We're a lot further than
Even though we don't get monetization for YouTube right now.
It will fuck up future monetization.
Ooh.
Trust
Is
me.
that how YouTube works?
Yes.
YouTube will
Oh,
fuck
God
with
damn it,
yes.
YouTube.
All right.
Can't have shit in
We have
Detroit.
4 minutes left.
All right, let's get through
Let's
this.
let her finish her statement.
Let her cook.
You mean 4 hours?
That he didn't
That's 4
drink,
minutes.
and so I'm just worried about his health, and I hope whatever treatment that they wind up finding for him is for what he actually needs, because it's very serious. That's all. I just want him to be better, and that's it.
Well, I certainly agree with that. I mean, I hope, as you know, a recovered alcoholic myself, anytime I see someone struggling with this disease, my heart goes out to him. It's heartbreaking, and I certainly hope that he gets the help that he needs here, and can, you know, move forward with his life in a healthy way. Certainly do wish that for anyone struggling with this disease, because that's exactly what it is, and you have to treat a disease.
You do.
If the person is going to get better, it has to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Taylor, I appreciate you sharing this. I know this has been.
All right. Well, so yeah, this is just, I don't know, a small segment I wanted to well, I guess not small. This is a lengthy segment that I wanted to do.
That was a girthy segment.
Girthy segment. It's a very.
That's what I'm gonna. Someone calls their dick that for sure.
A girthy segment. The
Hey
girthy
girl,
segment.
you ready for my girthy segment?
Has to be like the capital T, like it's part of.
Ready
the
for
name.
the girthy segment?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
For the girthy segment.
thank you for joining me. I was here with my buddies Rui,
Yo.
Silver,
Wait.
and the Smellies.
Yeah.
And I'm Herbal. Hit that like button, subscribe, make a comment if you think that what we said was funny or you disagree or agree with whatever we said. And
Hit the socials, follow that X.
Masturbate daily.
all those things. You guys have been awesome.
Especially that last one.
And we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.
I'm out.